The base was silent. Everyone stood frozen, watching the alien woman, Jaira, her shimmering form glowing under the harsh desert sun. She had come down from the massive ship, and now her eyes were locked on you. She was taller than any human, with a presence so commanding that even the bravest soldiers felt small in her shadow. But it was clear she wasn't here to harm. Her gaze was calculating, thoughtful. Colonel Harris slowly stepped forward, his hand trembling slightly as he raised it. "What do you want from us? Why are you here?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Jaira's eyes flickered over him for a moment, then turned back to you. She didn't answer Harris's question right away. Instead, she simply stared at you with an expression that seemed to mix curiosity and recognition, as if she knew something that no one else did. It was unsettling. "I am Jaira, emissary of the Echelon Alliance," she finally said, her voice clear and firm, though still filled with a strange, otherworldly authority. The words seemed to echo, not just in the air, but in the minds of everyone around her, like she was speaking directly into their thoughts. Harris frowned, unsure of whether to trust her. "The Echelon Alliance. We've never heard of you. What do you want with one of us?" His tone grew firmer, as if he had already made up his mind that this was a threat. Jaira didn't flinch. "You have not heard of us because we did not want to be found," she said calmly, glancing around at the soldiers who stood with their weapons drawn. "We are not your enemies, but we have been watching, and we have seen what you can do, what you are capable of." The word hung in the air, heavy and mysterious. Jaira was speaking as if she already knew humanity's potential. But how? The humans around her looked confused, and fear began to creep into their expressions. They had no idea what she was talking about. You, however, felt a strange pull, something deep inside that seemed to resonate with her words. Why was she looking at you? Why had she come all this way for just one person? "You may not understand now," Jaira continued, her voice soft, but filled with certainty. "But you, human, are different. You're special." The group of soldiers shifted uneasily, but Jaira ignored them, her full attention still on you. "I have come because the galaxy is in danger," she said, her voice growing urgent. "An enemy threatens all life in this part of the universe, a force so powerful that it will wipe out everything in its path. The Knarth, a species with weapons unlike any you have seen. But there is hope." "Hope," Harris interrupted, his brow furrowed. "How can you expect us to fight something like that?" Jaira looked back at him, her expression hardening for a moment. "Because you have something they do not, a gift hidden in your genes, something that has been overlooked by even the most advanced species, a potential that no one, not even the Echelon, fully understands." The words didn't make sense. The soldiers looked at each other, whispers starting to spread. But you were still focused on her, trying to understand what she meant. Jaira stepped closer, and in that moment, she held out her hand. The strange energy around her seemed to crackle as if she was offering something, something that was meant just for you. "You may not feel it now," she said softly, "but you will. Soon. And when that happens, you will be ready to face the darkness that is coming." The weight of her words pressed down on you like a physical force. You didn't understand what she was saying, but you knew one thing. Everything was about to change. The world you knew, the life you had lived, would soon be gone, and you would be at the center of it all. Jaira's eyes glowed for a moment as she looked at you. Then, without another word, she turned and walked back toward the massive ship, leaving the humans to wonder what kind of future awaited them, and what role you would play in it. The air around the military base felt thick with tension after Jaira's sudden departure. The soldiers stood still, unsure of what to do or even what to think. The alien woman had left them with more questions than answers, but one thing was certain: she had come for you, and you alone. You stood at the edge of the crowd, your heart racing. The way Jaira looked at you, it wasn't just curiosity, but something deeper, something personal. You didn't understand it, but you could feel it, like a strange pull deep inside. There was something she wasn't telling them, something that had to do with you. Colonel Harris snapped you out of your thoughts. What was that about? Why did she call you special? His voice was tense, and he stepped forward, staring at you with narrowed eyes. Are you hiding something from us? Before you could answer, Jaira's voice rang out again, echoing in the distance. Human, she called, her tone calm yet commanding. Come. I need to show you something. The soldiers parted as you walked toward her. There was no turning back now. You followed Jaira toward the ship, a huge, shining object now surrounded by the quiet desert night. The ship's design was unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Smooth curves, strange symbols glowing faintly on its surface. It was beautiful, yet ominous. As you stepped onto the ship, you felt the strange energy in the air. Jaira led you down a long corridor inside, the walls made of a material that shifted color as you moved. The soft hum of the ship's engines was the only sound. You're about to learn something about yourself, Jaira said as she stopped in front of a metallic door that opened with a hiss. She stepped aside, allowing you to enter. Inside, the room was dimly lit, filled with strange machines that hummed with a gentle, alien energy. One of the machines was different from the rest. In the center of the room stood a small pedestal, glowing softly with a blue light. On top of it, there was an object, something that looked like a simple stone, but its surface seemed to pulse with energy. It was warm to the touch, almost alive. This, Jaira said, her voice serious, is the key to unlocking your true potential. You stared at the stone, unsure what she meant. Jaira had told you that humans had a hidden gift, something no one had fully understood. But now, it felt like it was all starting to make sense. You stepped closer, and as your fingers brushed against the stone, something inside you sparked. A wave of energy washed over you, like a jolt of electricity. For a moment, everything around you blurred. You felt your body surge with power, strength, speed, clarity. Your senses sharpened, and the world around you seemed to slow down. You could hear every breath, every heartbeat, as if they were your own. The stone's glow brightened as if reacting to the change within you. Jaira watched you closely, her eyes filled with a strange satisfaction. This is only the beginning, she said softly. Your body is capable of far more than you know. This gift is in your blood. All you need is to unlock it. The power inside you faded just as quickly as it had come, leaving you breathless but amazed. You had never felt anything like it in your life. It was as if a new world had opened up to you, a world where you were capable of things you had only dreamed of. But as the feeling passed, the weight of Jaira's words sank in. There was more to this than just power. The galaxy was in danger, and humanity's hidden gift was their only hope. You have the power to change everything, Jaira said, stepping closer to you. Now you must learn to control it, and you must be ready. You looked at her, uncertainty still in your mind. But deep down, you knew one thing for sure: your life, and the fate of humanity, would never be the same again. The betrayal was a bitter blow, one that struck at the heart of the rebellion. Jaira, the alien who had once been your ally, had turned out to be a spy for the Knarth. She had worked alongside you, teaching you to control your newfound power, only to reveal at the worst moment that she was playing both sides. The trust you had placed in her felt shattered, but you couldn't afford to dwell on it. The Knarth were coming. There was no time to waste. The rebellion was no longer just about fighting for Earth. It was now a fight for the survival of all life in the galaxy. The alliance of races had grown stronger, and the Knarth had made a mistake underestimating humanity. They didn't realize that the spark of resistance had been ignited, and once it was lit, there was no stopping it. The first step was to make sure that Jaira's betrayal wouldn't break the rebellion's resolve. You gathered the leaders of the alliance in a secret meeting, using the sanctuary as a base of operations. The room was filled with representatives from every corner of the galaxy, aliens from distant worlds, soldiers from Earth, and the few remaining members of the Echelon Alliance who hadn't sided with the Knarth. You stood in front of them, a sense of determination rising within you. The Knarth think they can break us, you said, your voice clear and strong. But they've made a mistake. They've underestimated humanity. They've underestimated us. The room was silent as every eye turned toward you. You could see doubt in some faces, fear in others. Gyra's betrayal had shaken them all, but you could feel the energy of the rebellion rising again. Humanity's spirit was unbreakable, and it was starting to ignite something in everyone around you. We have the power to fight back, you continued. We've already proven that the Knarth are not invincible. We've seen what we can do. Now it's time to show the galaxy that humanity is not just a survivor. We are a force to be reckoned with. The leaders of the Alliance looked at each other, murmurs of agreement filling the room. Slowly, the energy in the room shifted. This wasn't just about a single rebellion anymore. It was about a united force that could stand against the galaxy's most powerful enemy. The time had come to take the fight to the Knarth. Plans were set into motion. The Knarth were massing their forces in the heart of their empire, preparing to launch an all-out assault on the remaining strongholds of the rebellion. They thought they had already won, but they hadn't counted on humanity's adaptability or its ability to unite in the face of danger. As the Alliance prepared for battle, you felt the power inside you grow stronger. Gyra's betrayal had awakened something in you, a deeper understanding of your potential. You weren't just fighting for Earth anymore. You were fighting for every species that had suffered under the Knarth's rule. You were fighting for the future of the galaxy itself. The final battle was upon you. The ships of the Alliance, once a scattered group of rebels, now flew in perfect formation. They moved toward the heart of Knarth space, ready to strike. The Knarth would never see it coming. The battle would be fierce, but for the first time, you felt that humanity was no longer the underdog. The Knarth had underestimated your species, and that was their greatest mistake. As the Alliance's ships closed in on the Knarth fleet, you stood tall on the bridge of your ship. The final showdown was about to begin. This was humanity's moment. The rebellion had turned into something unstoppable, something that could not be broken. The Knarth would soon learn that even in the face of betrayal, humanity would rise. You clenched your fists, feeling the surge of power inside you. The battle would be long, but you were ready. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had risen, and it was ready to take its place among the stars. The night sky above the Earth was like any other. Stars twinkled in their usual places, far off and seemingly distant. But at a military base in the middle of a desolate desert, something strange was happening. The ground rumbled with a low hum that grew louder by the second. A faint light appeared in the sky, growing larger and brighter, and before long, it was clear that it was no ordinary aircraft. Inside the base, soldiers rushed to their posts. Commanders barked orders into their radios, and the tension in the air was palpable. Whatever was coming, it was not human. Panic spread quickly as the first flashes of alien lights appeared against the dark backdrop of space. They were here. A massive ship, shaped like an elongated needle, sliced through the Earth's atmosphere with an almost graceful power. Its sleek, metallic surface gleamed under the moonlight, reflecting the stars above. It hovered over the base, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. The soldiers were frozen in place, unsure of what to do. Their weapons seemed insignificant against such a behemoth. Then, without warning, a figure stepped out of the ship. At first, it was a silhouette, a tall, elegant figure bathed in a strange, shimmering light. Slowly, she emerged from the craft. Her skin glimmered with hues of silver and blue, as if it were made of liquid metal. Her eyes, large and dark, scanned the humans below with an intensity that made even the bravest of soldiers take a step back. She was unlike any being they had ever seen, tall, poised, and otherworldly. But what stood out most was her presence. There was a quiet power in her every movement, something that felt both ancient and terrifyingly advanced. "I've come a long way to reach you, human," her voice echoed, not through a speaker or a loudspeaker, but directly in their minds, clear and chilling. The soldiers could barely react. The voice was not just a sound. It was a force, one that wrapped around them, compelling them to listen, to understand. But before they could recover from the shock, the alien woman stepped forward, her long, metallic fingers brushing the ground. She had made her arrival known. As the base commander, Colonel Harris, regained his composure, he spoke, though his voice was shaky. "What do you want with us? Who are you?" The alien woman tilted her head slightly, her eyes never leaving his face. "I am Jaira, emissary of the Echelon Alliance," she said, the words flowing effortlessly, as though spoken by a being with knowledge far beyond anything the humans could comprehend. "And I have come to speak with one human who is unlike the rest." Her words struck like a hammer. It was clear this was no ordinary encounter. Jaira's gaze shifted to one soldier in particular. "To you." Colonel Harris stood, confused and wary, as Jaira took another step closer to the gathered humans. "You are not the ones I need," she said softly, her voice now directed solely at you. "It is you I have come for." The weight of her words hit like a tidal wave. Every person present turned their eyes to you, their fear, curiosity, and confusion mixed in a strange cocktail of emotions. You had no idea why she had singled you out, but the sense of destiny was undeniable. Jaira's gaze locked onto yours, and for the first time in your life, you felt that something beyond this world was drawing near, a force that was neither friendly nor completely hostile, but undeniably important. The victory on the battlefield had been hard-won, but it was not enough. The Kynarth forces were vast, their technology nearly unbeatable. For every soldier you defeated, 2 more seemed to appear. The first wave of the battle was over, but the real war had just begun. Jaira was right. Humanity was not ready to face the full might of the Kynarth. The base was in chaos. Soldiers and officers scrambled to regroup, but the Kynarth were relentless. As soon as one group of invaders was pushed back, another wave of ships arrived from above. Their warships hovered in the sky like dark clouds, blocking out the sun. The earth trembled beneath the pounding footsteps of the Kynarth soldiers. They were closing in, and soon the base would be lost. "We can't hold out much longer," General Harris said, his voice strained. His eyes were tired, but there was no giving up in him. "We need to fall back. Regroup." But where? Jaira's face was set in a hard, determined line. She knew what needed to be done. "There is a place," she said, her voice low but urgent. "A safe location. A place where we can plan the next move." "Safe?" Harris scoffed. "Where could possibly be safe when they're already here?" Jaira turned to him, her gaze piercing. "You don't understand. There's something you still don't know about the Kynarth. Their focus is on Earth now, but they've made a mistake. They don't know the full potential of the humans they're facing. We are not just defenders. We are a threat to them." Her words were filled with confidence, but even Jaira knew the truth. The Kynarth had underestimated humanity's resilience, but they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Time was running out. "We need to get to the hidden sanctuary now." The military was not prepared for an immediate retreat, but there was no other choice. As explosions shook the earth and the sound of laser fire filled the air, the soldiers moved quickly, gathering their most essential equipment and personnel. Jaira led you toward the hidden transport ship, a sleek alien craft that had once belonged to her people. As you boarded the ship, the weight of the situation settled on you. The power you had unlocked inside yourself was real, but you still felt unprepared. There were so many questions, so many unknowns. Jaira had told you that you had the potential to change the course of this war, but how? You didn't have all the answers, and you certainly didn't have the experience. All you had was the energy inside you, and it wasn't enough to take on an entire empire. But you knew one thing for sure. You couldn't give up. Not now. Not when so many lives were at stake. The ship lifted off, slowly at first, as the base became a blur below. You looked out of the window, watching as the earth that you had known for your entire life became a shrinking dot on the horizon. The world was in chaos, but you had a feeling this was just the beginning. "We're not out of danger yet," Jira said, her voice cold and focused. "The Kinarth will hunt us down. They will find us. But we'll be ready," you said, surprising yourself with the strength of your own words. Jira glanced at you, and for the first time, you saw a flicker of something like hope in her eyes. "We will be," she replied softly. The ship soared through the atmosphere, leaving behind the planet in chaos. As you flew toward the hidden sanctuary, you felt a new sense of purpose. The Kinarth were coming, yes, but they had no idea what was waiting for them. Humanity wasn't done yet, and you, the human they had come to find, were going to make sure of it. The alliance had been formed. The races of the galaxy, once divided and wary of each other, now stood united under one banner: humanity. The Kinarth had underestimated not just humans, but the power of unity. The hope that had been ignited in the rebellion spread faster than expected. Plans were made. Attacks were strategized. The first wave of the unified forces would strike soon, and for the first time in a long while, the galaxy felt like it might have a chance. But even as victory seemed within reach, something darker was stirring in the shadows. The evening before the first major strike against the Kinarth, you and Jira stood in the command center of the hidden sanctuary. The final plans were being drawn up on the large holographic map. Everything seemed set. The rebellion was ready. Humanity was ready. The different races had pledged their full support. The Kinarth would be attacked on 3 fronts, weakening their hold on key territories. You were focused on the mission ahead, but there was an unsettling feeling in the air. Jira had been quiet for most of the evening, her usual calm replaced by something more guarded. You noticed her looking over her shoulder frequently, her eyes scanning the room as though expecting something. "Is something wrong?" you asked, your voice low, trying not to disturb the tension in the room. Jira hesitated, glancing at you. Her eyes were sharp, but there was an edge of concern behind them. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "We're just about to make our move. There's no room for mistakes." But you could sense something more, a weight behind her words. The room felt colder, the hum of the equipment around you quieter. You had learned to trust Jira. She had been your guide, your mentor, the one who had shown you the true strength of humanity. But now, for the first time, you couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wasn't telling you. As the night wore on, you decided to step outside for a breath of fresh air. The sky above the sanctuary was dotted with stars, silent and distant. You stared at the endless expanse, trying to clear your mind. But before you could gather your thoughts, you heard footsteps approaching. It was Jira. Her face was still composed, but there was an unease in her posture, as if she had something weighing on her mind. She stopped next to you, and for a moment, neither of you spoke. Then, with a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I need to tell you something." Your heart skipped. "What is it?" Jira's eyes flickered to the ground, and when she finally spoke again, it felt like a knife in your chest. "I'm not who you think I am." The words hit like a shockwave. You took a step back, trying to process what she had just said. "What do you mean?" you asked, confusion turning to dread. Jira's face hardened. "I'm not just an emissary of the Echelon Alliance. I was sent here by the Kinarth. I was a sleeper agent, meant to infiltrate the rebellion. I've been working for them all along." The ground seemed to fall out from beneath you. You stared at Jira, disbelief flooding your mind. This couldn't be true. She had been your guide, your ally. She had helped you unlock the power within you, taught you how to fight. But why? You choked out, the question hanging in the air. Jira looked away, her face filled with regret. "I never wanted this, but the Kinarth have my people. They have my planet. I had no choice." It was like everything had shattered in that moment. The woman who had once been your ally, your guide, the one who had shown you what humanity was truly capable of, was now the very thing you had been fighting against. I never meant for you to find out like this, she continued, her voice soft. But now, the rebellion is too strong. I can't keep pretending. The Knarth are coming, and they won't stop until everything is destroyed. You stood there, lost. The betrayal cut deep, more than you could have ever imagined. But even as anger rose within you, something else was clear. Jaira may have betrayed you, but the fight wasn't over. Humanity had come too far to turn back now. Then you'll have to stop me, you said, your voice hard. Because this fight goes on, with or without you. Jaira looked at you one last time, her eyes filled with sorrow. I'm sorry, she whispered before turning away. The stage had been set. The final war was about to begin. And the galaxy would soon learn that even the most unexpected betrayals would not stop humanity from fighting back. The following days felt like a blur. The power that Jaira had awakened inside you lingered, a constant hum at the back of your mind. It was both thrilling and terrifying, but the weight of what was happening around you kept you grounded. Jaira continued her training, teaching you to control the strange new abilities that had coursed through your body, though you still felt like an amateur in this vast alien world. The military base, once a simple outpost in the desert, now buzzed with activity. The soldiers, who had once stood on edge at the first sign of alien life, now worked alongside Jaira and her team. The alien technology she had brought with her was being studied, and humanity was learning fast. But none of it mattered. Not yet. Something bigger was coming, and Jaira knew it. They'd found us, Jaira said one evening as she approached you. Her expression was grim, her usual calm demeanor replaced by something colder, something darker. The Knarth have arrived. The name sent a shiver down your spine. The Knarth were an ancient and terrifying species, known across the galaxy for their ruthlessness and superior weapons. Jaira had spoken of them before, but now they were here. You could feel it in the air, the calm before the storm. Jaira turned to face you, her eyes locking onto yours. You need to be ready. The Knarth won't hesitate. They never do. Just then, the sky above the base lit up with a strange, unnatural glow. You looked up, heart racing, as a fleet of ships appeared overhead, their sleek, angular shapes cutting through the atmosphere with frightening speed. They were massive, each one larger than the largest warships humanity had ever built. Their dark, metallic surfaces gleamed under the setting sun, and the air seemed to crackle with a dark energy as the ships hovered in the sky. They've already begun their attack, Jaira said, her voice tense. We have no time to waste. The base erupted into chaos as the Knarth ships deployed their forces. Alien soldiers, armored and terrifying, began to descend from the ships, their weapons glowing with energy. They moved swiftly, organized, and with one goal, to take control of Earth. The Knarth were known for their brutal efficiency, and they were not here for negotiation. Jaira turned to you. This is why I came. Humanity must fight back. You are the key. You felt a surge of uncertainty. The Knarth were far more advanced, and their weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever faced. How could you, just one person, possibly stand against such an enemy? The power you had unlocked was nothing compared to the destruction the Knarth could bring. But then you remembered Jaira's words. You have the power to change everything. Without another word, Jaira led you to the command center of the base. Inside, military officers scrambled to get orders out, trying to prepare for the inevitable. The walls were lined with monitors displaying images of the Knarth fleet, their ships positioning themselves for attack. General, Jaira said as she approached the officer in charge, we need to strike first. The longer we wait, the more ground the Knarth will gain. The general nodded, though his face was filled with doubt. We've never faced anything like this. Our weapons won't do any good. Jaira's eyes glowed faintly as she turned to you. That's why I brought you here. Your power is humanity's only chance. You felt the weight of her words settle over you like a heavy cloak. The fear was still there, but beneath it, something else was stirring, something you couldn't ignore. Gyra was right. The Knarth were here, and humanity's fate rested in your hands. The time to act was now. The ship glided silently through space, the stars outside seeming to stretch endlessly. The journey to the hidden sanctuary felt longer than it really was. Gyra sat in the cockpit, her eyes fixed on the star map in front of her. You stood nearby, trying to adjust to the stillness of space, a strange, hollow feeling settling in your chest. The battle had been just the beginning, but now the fight felt far away. Your mind raced with questions about the Knarth, about Gyra, and most of all, about yourself. "Are you sure this place is safe?" you asked, breaking the silence. Gyra turned slightly, her expression unreadable. "It's not about safety. It's about survival. We can't afford to sit and wait. We need to build strength, organize, and then strike back." Strike back. You repeated the words, still unsure of what that meant. "But how? We can barely hold off the Knarth here. What makes you think we can defeat them?" Gyra's gaze softened for a moment. "You'll see. The strength you have, the power within you, it's not just for fighting. It's about understanding. Humanity doesn't realize it yet, but you're capable of more than you know. Together, you can become the force that turns the tide." Her words didn't make sense at first, but something in your gut told you she was right. The power inside you wasn't just about strength. It was about potential, about bringing something hidden inside humanity to the surface. And that thought sparked something in you. The Knarth had underestimated humanity, but now they were about to face something they couldn't predict. After hours of travel, the ship finally descended toward its destination, a small uncharted planet on the outskirts of the galaxy. Gyra called it a sanctuary, a place where the Echelon Alliance once hid from their enemies. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start a rebellion. The landscape was barren, with tall, jagged cliffs and sparse vegetation. As the ship landed, you could see structures, old, crumbling buildings hidden deep within the planet's rocky terrain. This was where humanity's rebellion would begin. Once you disembarked, Gyra led you into a hidden base beneath the surface. The walls were lined with old technology, some of it Echelon, some of it human-made. Despite the age of the place, it was clear this would be the perfect spot to regroup. The silence of the place was almost comforting, and you could feel the weight of history in the air. This was where everything would change. Gyra wasted no time. "It's time to gather the first group. We'll need a strong team to begin training." The first recruits were humans who had survived the Knarth invasion, soldiers who had fought but failed to hold their ground. They were a mix of fear, uncertainty, and raw determination, and when they saw you, the one who had fought back against the Knarth, they began to hope. Slowly, the spark of rebellion began to grow. In the days that followed, you worked with Gyra to train the recruits. She taught you more about your abilities, showing you how to control the energy that flowed through you. Each lesson felt like a step towards something bigger, something humanity had never experienced before. You were beginning to unlock more of the power inside you. And as you did, you saw the others around you grow stronger too. The first small victory came when you and a few others took down a small Knarth scouting ship that had been searching the planet. It wasn't much, but it was a sign. The Knarth were not invincible. The rebellion had begun. As you stood with Gyra, watching the horizon of the planet, you could feel the weight of what lay ahead. The Knarth were coming, and the fight would be long. But now, humanity had a chance. The rebellion was growing, one soldier, one mission, at a time. And it all started with you. Gyra turned to you, her expression serious but filled with a quiet pride. "You've sparked something here. The galaxy will feel it soon enough." You nodded, your heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. The rebellion had only just begun, but now, for the first time, you truly believed humanity had a chance to win. Weeks passed in the hidden sanctuary, and the rebellion began to grow. The soldiers you trained became stronger, their skills improving each day. The spark of hope that had been ignited on Earth now spread to the far corners of the galaxy. Jira was right. Humanity had something no other species had realized. The power within you wasn't just about raw strength. It was about survival, adaptation, and an unbreakable will to fight. The Knarth were relentless. Their ships loomed above the base, their dark forms casting a shadow over the desert. The sky crackled with energy as their forces deployed, sending alien soldiers to secure the area. Earth had never seen anything like this. The air was thick with tension as the soldiers scrambled to defend their home. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Humanity was outmatched. You stood in the command center, your hands clenched into fists. The power Jira had awakened inside you still hummed faintly in your veins, but you weren't sure how to use it. It had been a few days since you first felt the surge of energy. But now, with the Knarth descending upon the base, you had no choice but to find out. Jira was counting on you. The whole world was counting on you. Humanity has faced threats before, General Harris said, his voice grim as he looked at the map of the base. But nothing like this. The Knarth are invincible. Our weapons can't stop them. You're wrong, Jira interrupted, stepping forward. You can't stop them with weapons, but you can stop them with you. She turned to you. Her eyes, usually calm and steady, were now filled with urgency. It's time to unlock your full potential. Now. You swallowed hard. The fear was there, but it was mixed with something else. Determination. You had seen the Knarth ships in the sky. They were a force of nature, but you had felt the power inside you. You had felt it during the first moment you touched the stone. If it was true that this was humanity's only chance, then you had no choice but to fight. Without another word, Jira led you out of the command center, her eyes focused ahead as she guided you toward the open field where the soldiers were already engaging the Knarth forces. The sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air, but the Knarth didn't falter. They moved with a cold, terrifying precision, as if they were already prepared for every possible attack. Jira stopped and turned to you, her face stern. You can do this, she said. Focus. Let the power flow through you. You took a deep breath and closed your eyes, trying to focus on the strange energy within you. At first, it was like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. But then, as you cleared your mind, you felt it. A sudden rush of strength, speed, and clarity. The power was there, just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. Opening your eyes, you could see the battlefield clearly. Every movement of the Knarth soldiers, every detail in the chaos. It was like time had slowed down. You could hear their footsteps, their weapons charging, even the faintest sound of the wind. It was all crystal clear. You moved without thinking, your body reacting faster than your mind could catch up. You rushed forward, leaping into the fray. The Knarth soldiers were fast, but not fast enough. Your body moved like it had been trained for this moment your entire life, each step purposeful and precise. The soldiers tried to react, but you were already there, your fists striking with power that felt unnatural, as though your body had been forged for battle. One of the Knarth soldiers aimed a weapon at you, but you were already moving, ducking and dodging with incredible speed. With a swift movement, you disarmed the alien, sending it sprawling to the ground in a heap. It was the first victory, small but significant. The Knarth had underestimated humanity, and now they were beginning to realize their mistake. You stood tall in the midst of the battlefield, your heart racing but your mind clear. The power inside you was real. And now, you were ready to lead humanity's charge. But even as the first wave of victory surged through you, you knew this was only the beginning. The Knarth would not stop. They would regroup. They would retaliate. But this time, they were facing something they never expected, a human who would not back down.